Welcome to Convos with Mortgage Peeps. I'm your host, Bobby Hanson, and today I'm conversating with Michael Cadet, who is a mortgage advisor based out of Petaluma, California, with over a decade of experience. So Petaluma is a pretty competitive market where strategy really matters, and that's something that Michael really leans into when it comes to structuring deals. So one thing that I really respect is his advisor approach, and that's something that we're going to talk about today. And when we think about an advisor, we're thinking about really thinking through the deals, the options, and not just approaching it from an application and just pushing it through. That's something that newer loan officers don't always see early on. So I want to make sure that we're getting that aspect of it for you. I'm so excited to get into this one today. I know I'm going to learn a ton. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Well,
It's a great time to be reconnected with you.
yay, I love it. Welcome to the community. I just think it's a lovely time to be in the mortgage industry.
Yes, it
Uh,
is. It depends on how you look at it, but it's definitely a great time. It's a great business to be in, and it's something that you just have to. Once it gets in your blood, it just doesn't get out.
right.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
speaking of that, can you tell us your story? How did you get into the mortgage industry?
Oh wow. So how I got into the mortgage industry is kind of a long winded tailed story. And I actually got in the mortgage industry initially back in 2008. Was my
Okay,
first time that I got in the mortgage industry,
the
and
first
literally
time.
first time, correct. And when I first got in, I was, fresh out of college, really wet behind the ears. Didn't really know much of anything. And I was just looking to, do something that I thought that I could, be proficient in. And I got my first loan. I remember I was so excited. I had to fill out the 1003, by hand. I was calling a whole, lead list and finally got a young family to agree to do a loan with me to do a refinance. And I was just so excited. I was just like, I got one. Like, I can't believe I got one. But at that time, we would have to, package the deal by hand and stack a file and sell it over to a wholesaler. And I think it was like Indie Bank or something like that
Yes,
back
yes.
in the day. And at that time I had to like literally fax the whole file over to the folks. And I remember I called the gentleman, the account executive the night before, and I was like, hey, I got a deal. I'm going to fax this thing over to you first thing in the morning. I'm getting their taxes. I'm getting everything. I'm going to fax it over to you. And he was like, great. Looking forward to it. Can't wait to help you score your first one. Okay. So I walk in, full of, sunshine and pride in the morning. And I go to call him up and ask, hey, I faxed it over. Just want to see if you got the file. He was like, hey, man, we're out of business. And I was
Oh,
just
so you
like,
got in right at that moment.
at that moment, literally, it was I didn't know what was happening. I didn't understand like what was going on. Like I was just like, how could you be out of business? I just talked to you last night. Like literally, this is a
Wow.
true story. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
my buddy of mine, Chris. I mean, he was sitting right next to me on my desk, and he was seeing me like go through this, and and we had a whole list of wholesalers we can go through. I was like, okay, well that's strange. Then I just started kind of calling down the list. Everyone was giving me the same spiel. We're out of business. Like it was literally happening in real time, right,
Wow.
right in front of me. And I was
Yeah.
working for like a mom and pop shop. What was the name? Andy and Shelba. And I called them. I was just like, hey, Shelba, like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I broke something here, but
You
everyone's
broke
telling
the whole industry.
right, and everyone's telling me they're going out of business. And then fast forward, as we all know, the whole meltdown happened, right shortly after that.
Yeah.
So from there, I went into just retail banking. I worked at like Wells Fargo for some time. I did personal banking, I did business banking, I got into commercial banking. So I wore a lot of different hats in
Yeah.
the retail banking space, which actually gave me a lot of great education. And then I kind of just got burnt out from that whole, rat race. And I wanted to be a little bit more independent instead of kind of being, chained to a desk at, 8 hours a day. So
Yeah.
I tapped back into something that I really like because I was actually referring a lot of mortgage business to my mortgage referrals partners, and then I got my license in 2018, and there you have it. That's where I kind of
Wow.
restarted my whole journey again.
Yeah, that is so interesting. I didn't know that. That's crazy. That whole time was crazy. So
Yeah,
really for anybody that's getting into the industry now, they're probably like, I don't know, maybe they were little kids and their parents lost their house, or I just think
sure.
everybody kind of has a different connection to the meltdown.
Yeah,
But I would recommend watching the movie The Big Short,
be
right? That
sure.
was the
Oh
movie
yeah.
that kind of talked about it. If you are
Mhm.
like, what are these old people talking about? The mortgage
I
meltdown.
know, right?
Uh, but yeah, it was definitely a scary time.
Yeah,
And fast forward, so they always say like once you're in mortgage, you're kind of never leave, and I feel like you proved that. You were like,
yeah.
I'm out, I'm back in,
And I'm back in,
I'm back.
because it's like, I mean, with everything that I learned and through the retail bank, I mean, it just gave me a lot of different tools in my tool set that I felt that I could really bring to a family or an individual who's trying to make that type of decision. Because I would advise people at my desk face to face every single day about financial decisions and investments and all types of different aspects of their financial life. So I felt that it would easily translate to mortgages, and
Yeah,
that was just something I've always had a love for.
awesome. Well, like I said, I'm already learning new things about you. All right, let's talk about our new loan officers in the industry. So if
Yeah,
someone just got licensed, right, they just passed their NMLS test, we all know that that does not prepare you to do a loan.
no, 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 man.
And if they haven't closed their first deal, like right now, they're kind of in that moment before they've got their first deal. What would you recommend that they focus on first?
Obviously you have to find a way to survive,
Yeah,
because I think, when you first get into it, you're going to be there's going to be a lot of shiny toys being thrown at you. Everyone's going to want to mentor you. Everyone has a winning system. And I think that just really just being relentless and not being afraid to just talk to people,
yeah,
and
yeah,
explain to people that, hey, this is what I do. This is how I can potentially help. And I mean, to this day, I'm still learning. I'm still making mistakes. And you just have to kind of put yourself out there and start learning and start just getting that experience. But I think the
yeah.
first thing is just like getting out there and just talking to people, specifically like realtors, people within your immediate circle of influence. And I mean, and those people may not be the people that actually become the source of business, but it may be the person that they refer you to, that may
Right,
become the source of business. So,
right,
but that's what initially it's going to take, is that initial like thrust of, movement, within your local market, just to get out there and be seen, essentially
right. Show up every day. Show up.
every
Even
single
if you're
day.
scared, because you're scared at first. Somebody's going to ask you a question, you are not going to know the answer.
Absolutely,
And that's
absolutely,
scary.
for sure.
But what do we always say? I don't know the answer, but I'm going to get back to
I'll go
you.
get it. I'll find out.
Yeah.
I'll find that answer for you.
And then you follow up. You do
Yeah.
reach out. Hey, I think that is great advice. So I noticed, and I noticed that loan officers, loan originators have different titles, right?
Yeah.
When somebody, sends you an email, it'll be like senior loan originator, boss mortgage lady. And in your case, you refer to yourself as a mortgage advisor.
Yeah.
And that is, all of these titles kind of mean something different. So I wanted you to kind of explain what it actually means and how you approach a deal being a mortgage advisor as opposed to a loan officer.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, a mortgage advisor to me is, I'm helping people explore strategies and options. Because at the end of the day, I mean, because a lot of people lead on, I have the lowest interest rate, and that may not fit someone's particular scenario. And what I always tell people, and I sound like a broken record when I say this to anyone that I meet who's,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
But anyone that I meet, who's looking to do a mortgage or do a refinance or anything like that, the first thing I always tell them is that before we talk about, buying a house or refinancing anything, we have to put together a game plan. Like that's the first step. And
Mhm.
it actually like gives people breath of fresh air because it kind of takes that pressure off that person to make them feel like they have to like move forward or like make a particular decision right then and there. And it
Right.
puts them in a mindset of okay, like we need to like figure out a plan, like what
Yeah.
and what that and in order to put together a plan, I need to understand like what are your goals? Like what are your pain points? Like what are you trying to achieve within the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Are you planning to have a baby? Are you planning to, downsize and sell your home because you're about to become an empty nester? Um, Sorry. Of course, my wife's iPad is in here when I'm trying to do this. Sorry about that. But so it's that like say like it's more about putting together a plan, and I'm just trying to advise someone through making a very important and large decision in their life that's going to impact them, their family, and instead of just going at a rate, sometimes I show people a higher rate but with just a different particular strategy
Yeah.
that may be more cost effective, that just may fit their particular scenario a little bit better. But so I mean, it's not about the rate to me. I actually lead more towards like, what are you comfortable with in terms of the monthly payment? That's
Right.
kind of what I'm more focused on because that's what you have to live with
Right.
every, is that monthly payment. So,
Right.
um, going through options, I won't just show a 30-year fixed mortgage. Let's maybe look at a 20-year. Let's maybe look at a 15-year. Maybe let's look at an ARM. Maybe let's do a 2-1 buy down. Maybe
Right.
there's different things that are going to happen in the next 2 years. Sometimes people are like, oh, well, I'm expecting a big pay increase within the next year or so. Okay, so maybe it's not cost effective to, buy down the rate and spend all this money up front. If you're expecting a big pay raise, maybe you take the pay raise, the extra cash, down the principal balance, do a recast instead of a refinance, and
Right.
adjust your monthly payment. So there's a lot of different strategies, but it's really trying to listen first, and because I think a lot of people just try to sell, 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 and versus just sitting there and just listening and asking open-ended questions, and really understand like what is this person's goal and what are their pain points, really,
Yeah.
and so that's why I would, I guess, consider myself more of an advisor than I don't know, like a
Yeah. Yeah, and I
the
don't want to play down like, oh, if you're just a loan officer, it's this. But I just feel like
sure, for
that,
sure.
that as as people get into the industry and you kind of figure out what kind of loan officer do I want to be.
Yeah,
When I was a loan officer, I have my license, I do loans, but I love first time home buyers.
yep,
If I had, I feel like I wouldn't fall under mortgage advisor.
yeah,
I want to get, I love a first time home buyer. I love explaining it and the presence and the
absolutely,
joy of it.
absolutely,
And, I think it's important for people to ask themselves when they're getting in this industry to know that those lanes are available and to like find your lane. Don't
yeah.
put yourself, don't be like, I'm going to be a mortgage advisor if that's not your lane. Like figure out what your lane is. And
And I think it kind of ties back to a little bit of my background, and just wearing all those different hats in retail banking,
yeah,
because I do bring a holistic financial approach to when I'm helping, even if it's a first time home buyer or if
yeah,
it's a person buying their second home. I always talk about like the four different quadrants of building wealth through real estate, and the
yeah,
biggest quadrant that you're going to be building as you're building wealth for yourself and for your family is going to be the real estate box, and
right,
once you hunker down that quadrant in your wealth building, machine, that real estate asset, that's really going to be the anchor of and the cornerstone really of like all the wealth that you're going to be building. And then it's like we build the real estate asset, then we can maybe start focusing on other investments, thinking about your rainy day fund, thinking about saving at least 9 to 12 months of, emergency funds, retirement, planning, and even like, estate planning and things
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
it all ties in
Yeah.
um, to the real estate quadrant and that cornerstone of your wealth. And so it's like that's, I believe, one of the most important pieces in helping someone build wealth is through real estate,
Yeah.
and then we can start connecting all the different, boxes, as we kind of move along in their financial life.
Who are when it comes to referral partners, who do you seek to work with? Who do you tend to work with, more? Is it realtors? Is it more financial advisors, lawyers?
Yeah. I wish I would work a lot more with financial advisors because I think our roles and our relationship is very intertwined.
Yeah.
But realtor partners are going to be my number one source. It always has. I think that's just kind of an industry thing.
Yeah.
But I love working with financial advisors because I mean we manage the biggest side of the balance sheet, the other side, which is the debt piece.
Right.
And so like helping them manage the debt piece, it can really open up a lot of doors for other aspects of their financial planning. Maybe free up some free cash flow, and sorry, the kids.
That's okay. My kids are in the bath.
Yeah.
Dad's trying to keep them quiet. It's real
So
life. It's real
it's real
life.
life,
We're not going to
and
hide
right.
it.
So, but yeah, I mean, but realtors, it's really, and really being a strategic partner for my realtor partners is really my go-to referral
Yeah.
source. That's what I
Yeah.
work with.
Well, that is awesome. I thank you for explaining that because it's not a shift that I've even noticed before, and now I'm like, oh, nobody ever told me that. Um, all right, so kind of on the same vein, I wanted to talk a little bit about structuring a deal.
Mhm.
And kind of, could you just break that down for us and what that actually means for a brand new person?
Yeah. So I mean, I try to keep things very simple, so people like one, two, threes,
Yeah,
and so I always let people know there's really three things that makes a loan. It's going to be your debt to income ratio, your credit, and then your assets. Really simple. And so I mean, when I'm structuring a deal, I just kind of go through that order and ask, and I quickly explain like what a debt to income ratio is. Try to get an understanding of where they've worked, how long they've worked there, trying to, piece together a 2 year work history. And then I try to get an understanding of what their monthly debt obligations are. And then ask them when was the last time they've checked their credit. I don't ask them what their credit score is. It's like when was the last time you actually checked,
yeah, yeah.
and it just
Realize
kind of opens up a little bit more of a dialogue and more just color to that concept, because then it can just lead into, well, do you have any collection items or any of that other stuff,
yeah,
and if we're all good there, then hey, are you looking to put together, or excuse me, are you looking to put 20% down or less? And then there you go. I mean, if once I gather that information, I can kind of tell pretty quickly like what I have there, just based off of a pre-qualification if I'm just like talking to someone over the
yeah,
phone. And then from based off of what they're telling me, then I just, if everything looks good, they have great income, great, work history, credit, assets, then I just move to the next step, which is collecting the supporting documentation, W-2s, getting their application in, assets and all that. And it's pretty simple from there. Run DU and, hopefully we got an accept.
we wish it could be that simple, right? So
No.
what is, you know and that you do make it sound simple, but in real life, right, it
Mhm.
isn't always that simple. Borrowers can tell you one thing and then there's another thing. And is there a time that you can remember early in your career that you had to learn a really hard lesson?
Mm. Um, Gosh, I
That you
mean,
can
I'm
share
learning
with
hard.
us
I
without
mean,
crying?
I know. Well, gosh, I mean, there's hard lessons almost. I'm still learning
Every
hard
day, yeah.
lessons. Well, I mean, I would say if like a hard lesson, I would say is like self-employed people,
Yeah,
self-employed folks. If I learned that sometimes kind of just slowing down a little bit, because like I said, I try to make it simple and it allows me to kind of move quickly, hopefully efficiently, but sometimes you can miss things,
right.
So like, I mean, I did have like a self-employed person who I worked with, and when I looked at their tax returns, this is a good one. Well, when I looked at their tax returns, they filed. Well, they showed me their tax returns, and it appeared like it was filed, But when we went through underwriting, apparently it just wasn't filed, and I just couldn't catch that up front until we actually like pulled a 4506C and got the actual transcripts. And I advised um, the realtor partner to make an offer without a loan contingency, right? And because they were very strong to me and they had plenty of assets, their credit was great, but they just didn't file. And then what came up was that they actually had a big tax liability, and we were already pretty deep into escrow. Once we figured this out, we're on a short escrow, and it just caused complications, and caused a little bit of you know just a little headache and worry to everybody involved. Now, the way I was able to kind of get out of it, or not even get out of it, but just kind of smooth things over in that transaction was just communication. When things like that pop up, I do not run away. I do not like hide in a corner or turn off my phone. I just call people and explain to them, hey, this is what happened. It's something that we missed up front, and this is the way we're going to fix it.
Yeah,
And it just took a lot of clear and transparent communication with all parties involved, with my realtor partner, with the selling party, with the borrower, and that's really what kind of put everyone a little bit at ease to know, like, hey, Michael has identified it, he's being upfront with us about it, he's given us realistic new timelines, and here's the game plan. So I would say that was kind of a tough lesson because especially with self-employed people, because sometimes things can just kind of come out the a blue that you just don't expect,
right.
and it's kind of deals sometimes are kind of held together very thinly, with those folks.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's such great advice is not to put your head in the sand, not, to turn off your phone, to go at it head first. Especially because when you're new, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. Whether you have a mentor, whether you're taking our training classes, there's just things that you don't know, and so that is how you have to learn. And so I think it is a really big takeaway to just own it
For
forward.
sure.
Um, Gosh, I can't even think of the amount of things that I've done, but I think, just owning it is really huge.
Yeah.
Um, when you, what does a day to day look like for you as far as like, the real life of a loan officer? Because, and this question comes from, I think people get into this because they're like, oh, I work for myself. I can have freedom, I can do
Oh
these
yeah.
things, but it's like, loan officer, you guys are working every day, all day, Saturdays and Sundays. So, like, for you and your business, what does your day to day look like?
Yeah. I think it's a really great question to ask, and I think something folks should try to adapt, which is because I'm naturally a free spirited person. I don't like structure particularly. That's just naturally, how I am. And it wasn't until like I talked to my mentor about this, and he was like, I'm the same way. I don't really like structure, but it wasn't until that I put structure into my day-to-day business was where the freedom actually came from. And
Mhm.
so there is a particular structure that I do follow day to day. And, I lead every day through what we would call a theme day.
Ooh,
So like Monday, so that way it's like you don't go into Monday just kind of just swinging at the fences and just hoping for the best. Same thing for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you know. So every Monday I walk in to the office, try to get there as early as possible, 8:30, 9 o'clock, you know. And I'm calling all of my realtor partners from over the weekend. I'm checking in to see how everything went for the weekend, you know, and I'm trying to give them an update of something. Either it's going to be a new deal, or it's going to be some type of new product, or an industry insight, or maybe invite them to something, you know. But somehow, like my core 10 or 15 people that I'm really close to working with, I'm touching base with them every single Monday, you know. And so I kind of dedicate those days for my realtor partners. Tuesdays, I dedicate that to um, doing pipeline updates. So anyone who's in my pipeline, I'm updating my sellers, my buyers, buyer agents, everyone who's in escrow. I'm giving them a call and giving them an update. Hey, everything is on track for an on-time closing, or this is what's come up. You know, maybe the condo review is taking a little bit longer than we had expected. This is what the expectation should be for, you know, for our
great.
close of escrow, right? Wednesdays I'm dedicating to pipeline, or not pipeline, but like leads, you know, like people that I'm working on. So I'm following up with people, checking to see, hey, did you get the application? Are you still moving forward? I mean, you know, so I'm just kind of dedicating that day to kind of touch base with all those people within my sales pipeline. And then Thursdays, I'm focusing in on past clients. So I try to reach back to at least, I really just dedicate like 2 letters. So I just go down the list of my past clients,
Nice.
pick out like 2 letters. So all the C's and all the D's, you know, that start with that last name. I'll just call them up, check in with them, and
Nice.
I do that with intentionality. Like I'm not calling just to say hello, but I am calling to say hello, of course. But I'm also checking to see like, hey, is there any changes, you know, that have happened? Maybe we should do an annual review of your mortgage, see if there's, you know, anything happening, you know, and you'll be surprised. Actually, past clients is like my favorite day to call. I
Oh, I
love that.
love that.
I really do, because
Yeah.
it's great because they already know and love you. They've been through a transaction with you. They've been through the
Yeah.
fire with you already. And then it's like it leads to a lot of new business,
Yeah.
surprisingly enough. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, and they
And
probably have a ton of questions for you all the
oh,
time with
big
all
time.
the things that are happening and they're seeing. So they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just thinking about.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about maybe, you know, adding a new ADU to the back, or my sister was thinking about moving into town, or, you know, I needed to take
Yeah.
some cash out to consolidate some debt. There's a ton of scenarios that
No.
come up um, from from those calls. And then Fridays I call that my whale hunting day. So I'm looking for new business and just trying to prospect to new folks, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Okay.
the what I structure my now. Do things pop up in between?
Of course.
All the time, you know, and I just do my best, you know. And if I don't accomplish everything in that day, then I just go and just continue with my system and just try again tomorrow.
Yeah. Good. Well, that is so powerful. I think we are going to definitely highlight that. It's different than I've heard, but it is structure, but it's not like that rigid, like at 8 o'clock, you have to do this,
Yeah.
9. It's like I love the idea of a theme. The other
Yeah.
thing that you mentioned was a mentor.
Mhm.
So how important for new people in the industry is it to have a mentor?
I think it cuts down. I mean, it just depends on how serious you're trying to take this career, you know. And
Yeah,
I mean, I think it is important. I really do. To be coached. I mean, if you ever played any sports, or if you did ballet or anything like that, you had a teacher, you had some form of coaching all through your life. So I don't know, so what would make one think that you're getting into this level of business that you don't need a
right,
coach or
right.
some type of teacher in some regard? So I think, I mean, if you're really looking to take this thing seriously, like I think it is important to get a mentor, you know. If you can, you know, just go work for the person that you want to be mentored under, so you're not shelling out thousands of dollars to get mentored by someone. And I lucked up in that regard because the gentleman that I'm mentored under, he just works within my market, and it was just by chance the way we met, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
But I think it is pretty important though, for sure.
I love that. I always tell people find somebody that you admire or you want to mimic that business and then just copy them and show up and be helpful. Bring them
Yep.
a coffee and just
Seriously,
get in there, you know?
simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So
I've I
interesting.
found him on YouTube, ironically, and it was so ironic. I hope I could tell this story real quick, but
Yeah.
like I because in 2018 when I got my license, I was finding few personalities online that I thought was interesting, and then I just stumbled upon this particular gentleman, and I was like, oh, I want my business to be like that. Kind of
Yeah.
going to what you're saying, like I liked that. I like that system. I like his personality, and
Yeah.
I want what he has. And my cousin has a restaurant that it was like kind of a pop-up restaurant he was doing in Petaluma at the time. And one day he called me up and he was just like, hey Michael, some dude, like this big mortgage broker in Petaluma, walked in and said he wanted to invest in my restaurant, and then he mentioned his name, and I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Like I know that guy. Like I follow him on YouTube,
Wow.
and I didn't even know he was in my market. And it's he introduced me, and then the rest was history. I totally didn't even know he was in my market, and it just so happened to happen that way.
Wow. That's awesome. That's very much like you are where you're supposed to be.
Right, seriously.
When you find your community, when you find your people, and you sound really passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
um and again, back to the question, like, how do you get in the market? I think it's interesting that kids, I have a first grade and a TKer, and when they ask them what they want to be when they grow up, nobody ever says a loan officer. But
Right.
when I just feel like it's such a great job, especially when you can figure it out in the beginning. It
Yeah,
is hard. It is going to beat you up. You're going to make mistakes.
for sure.
But if you stick at it, you stay consistent, you don't make it too big and let it make you crazy, because it will make you crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
There really is joy. There really is a lifestyle. You can have that freedom, with those bumpers on it. And so yay, you just reminded me of all of that. And I am just so thankful to catch up with you.
Yeah.
And I really want you to be a part of this new community. I think definitely you have so much to share. So I will be coming back to you.
Please, I would
I,
love to contribute however I can. I would love to. That'd
uh,
be
well, thank you so much
awesome.
for coming on our show here. We're excited. I really appreciate your time, and I look
Absolutely.
forward to catching up with you again soon.
Me too. Awesome. Thank you.